Hey, honey,
Yes, Barry?
let's get out of here.
Where are we going?
Where do we always go?
Fascina el viento, este ritmo de palmas, sin ti naturaleza, hasta encontrar la playa. Por eso grito al mundo, yo soy de Puerto Vallarta. Samba de Puerto Vallarta, noche de arrullo en el mar. Samba de Puerto Vallarta.
Hello, fellow travelers, and welcome to this episode of the Puerto Vallarta Travel Show. I'm your host, Barry Kessler, and I'm just so happy to be introducing you to my favorite vacation destination. Hey, maybe it's even yours, and that's Puerto Vallarta, Mexico. That music you're listening to is performed by Alberto Perez, and Alberto is the owner of the Lapa Lapa group of restaurants. Those are the Lapa Lapa, Puerto Vallarta's oldest restaurant on the famous Los Muertos beach, and the El Dorado restaurant and beach club right next door. So you can enjoy that fantastic view of the Los Muertos pier, all lit up at night in beautiful colors, or during the day in its grand splendor for breakfast, lunch, or dinner, seated with your toes in the sand right at the water's edge. It's so romantic. It's so Puerto Vallarta, my friends. This week we are going to travel to Colonia Las Sausas in Puerto Vallarta. It's centrally located in town. We're going to visit with my friend Fernando Vasquez Whitney. Fernando's a cool guy who owns a place called Pacific Vape Shop in Puerto Vallarta. And Fernando has got a great story. He's a pata salada of sorts, and he's going to tell you how his mother-in-law, his suegra in Espanol, virtually changed his life by passing on her used vape after she got a new one for herself. And with the new laws against outdoor smoking still on hold in Jalisco and in other states in Mexico, I thought that what Fernando has to say might just help a smoker break a habit or give a non-smoker tools that might persuade their family member or friend to put out the butt for good. But anyhow, it's great information. I just got back from Puerto Vallarta. I have some reports for you smokers and non-smokers alike. So before we get to Fernando and to Pacific Vape Shop, let's see what's happening this week in Puerto Vallarta, March the 10th, 2023. The weather in Vallarta is absolutely beautiful with warm, well, just barely almost too hot if you're in the direct sun kind of days. The nights are cool, they're refreshing. You're going to need a wrap if you're walking around the Malecon at night, but shorts and t-shirts during the day for sure. That is, unless you are in Mismaloya or in El Tuito, then that you're going to need the insect repellent for those no-see-ums and for the mosquitoes. And you're going to want to use that local off. You can find that over at the OXXO or over at the omnipresent pharmacias that you'll see all over town. That seems to work the best. That combined with long pants and shoes for the ultimate protection, especially at sunrise and at sundown. Those are the areas where I usually get bit around town. I had a wonderful stay, and I had the greatest interviews, and you are going to hear a lot of them. I had some great meet and greets, one over at Nacho Daddy, and I had one down in Boca de Tomatlan. Both of them were great. Terrific information coming your way. I flew Delta Airlines, Los Angeles to Puerto Vallarta. Mask requirements, of course, were out. There was no health tracking per se. In fact, they didn't have that COVID checklist that you check off over at the check-in screen at the kiosk, over the ticket kiosk where you check in the airport. As for the FMM, I wasn't asked to fill one out. And at the Puerto Vallarta airport, after waiting in a very short line on a Monday afternoon in immigration, the folks over at immigration took my passport, stamped it, gave me 180 days, and said, bienvenidos. And so I did as I promised. When I talked with you last week, I asked my cab driver on my way to Pitial, stop over at an OXXO for some beers. And while I was in there, I purchased a box of Marlboro Reds, and I ran a test all around town. And here's what I found out over the 9 days and nights that I spent in Puerto Vallarta. First of all, there is a smoking spot where there has always been a smoking spot over at the Puerto Vallarta airport, right over at the Magic Trash Can, over there where the passenger drop-off area is, where the doors are for the departing flights. Now, I didn't look for a smoking section with an ashtray on the arrival side, but if there is one, all you have to do is follow your nose. I did not notice one, but I do know that right over there at the departure side, if you happen to need a cigarette, you can get it. You can just go ahead and sneak one right over there. Now, I will tell you that the fact that I had the cigarettes in hand, I never smoked in bars, I never smoked in a restaurant or a shop or any places of business, never smoked on the beach except for in Boca de Tomatlan. There was no problem doing it there. Never did I smoke near an open door. And when I did smoke, I was looking for more deserted places. So no open doors or anything like that. Police saw me. They did nothing. I saw police smoking. I saw Mexicans and foreigners smoking pretty much everywhere. I did hear that there were a few folks, in fact, there were some people that we knew that were pretty annoyed when their fancy all-inclusive resort had absolutely zero accommodations for smokers. And I don't know if you could imagine if you had to go cold turkey for your relaxing vacation, that might be a little bit annoying, if you ask me. But Salvador Estrada, the Candyman on the Malecon, he was still selling single cigarettes from his wheelchair. I watched him do it right there from the zoo and the mandala, and his customers still lit him up right there next to his chair, right on the Malecon. So I do believe that if you are a smoker and you don't act like a jerk who just doesn't care, but like, any concerned human being who's just looking to make a few concessions just by being aware and considerate and courteous and keeping within the current law and under scrutiny, and the current law hasn't even been enforced, if you know what I mean. Anyway, we will get back to the new impending law and another way that smokers can actually make a change when we get to Fernando in a couple of minutes. Now, by the way, there seemed to be a shortage of the hippie lettuce this time around. Supply issues, I suppose. I don't know. I mean, the weed wasn't easy to find, if you know what I mean. But what I did notice this trip was that the the suppliers, the cartel, had a bit of a variety of qualities, actually in 3 different price ranges of the hippie lettuce. Now, that's just an observation, but that's what I saw. A couple weeks back, I was talking about how being able to speak Spanish opens up a lot of avenues for me, and especially, chatting up taxistas, finding out about their lives. And by the way, if you could learn a little Spanish or even a lot of Spanish, you'll find that it does change a lot of things for you. But anyway, I've had taxi drivers sing to me. I think I told you that story. I've had some of them actually offer me rides out to their ranchos. I've had some of them offer me a place to stay if I needed a place to stay. But, mostly I hear stories about their lives. And usually the conversation kind of goes like this. It's like I ask them, ¿Cómo está la vida? I ask them, how's life? Or I'll ask them, ¿Cómo está su día? Which is, how's your day? And the taxi driver then says, oh, you speak Spanish. And then he'll ask me, do you live here or are we on vacation? And then what usually happens is I go from there and I start telling him, what I do, that I'm really not on vacation, but I do a podcast for fun and I do it for a hobby and it's about Puerto Vallarta. And I tell him I record interviews with restaurants and hotels and bars and artists and interesting people and charities. And then I go home and I sell houses in California, which is what I do for a living. And then each week or so, I put out one of those interviews with the news of the day. And then when I run out of recorded interviews, I tell them I come back to Puerto Vallarta to record some more. And, that usually gets a pretty positive response from these guys. And then their stories start to flow. And it's a real thing. It really is. So this particular time, there were several interesting stories that I was told by several different taxistas, but this one in particular, after listening to my story, he looks at me and he says, so you're some sort of a journalist then, aren't you? I said, well, yeah, I guess I am. I guess you could say that. He asked me if I remember when the Ameca Bridge collapsed. And I said, which time? Because it's happened a couple times. And he said, it was about 2010. And now, the Ameca Bridge is the bridge that connects the state of Nayarit with the state of Jalisco. It separates Puerto Vallarta with Nuevo Nayarit, now that it's called. And the bridge is about 850 feet long. And on a day when it was said that a month's worth of tropical rain fell in one day back in September of 2010, at about 2:30 in the morning on September 1st, a 180-foot section of the two-lane northbound bridge fell into the Ameca River. And so I said, yeah, I remember that. And he says, yeah, I drove off the bridge and into the river. And I'm like, what? What was that like? And he says, well, he had just picked up a couple over at the Malecon, and he was taking them home over to Valle Dorado, which is just south of Mezcales, just across on the other side of the Rio Ameca over in Nayarit. And he says then the bridge started to shake, and then his car and then two others went right into the raging Ameca River. And the taxi went right under the water at first, he said, and then it bobbed back up to the surface. And then somehow he got out of the car and he swam. Well, he was carried by the current of the river, but he swam over to a tree in the river where he hung on there for dear life for about 45 minutes with the river just rushing by him, just in the black of night. And finally he was rescued and he was taken to the hospital. As far as his passengers were concerned, he didn't know what happened to them, but they were rescued in a very similar fashion, just as the way that he was. But wow, I mean, what a story, right? And he told me that I could find his testimonies. I could find a story on YouTube. It's called "The Testimony of Marcos, Taxista Colapsar al Puente Rio Ameca," something like that. And I actually looked it up, and there it was, and there he was. He had a pic. He was there, answering questions with his little boy. And anyway, I went ahead and I took his testimony, which is in Spanish, of course, and I translated it into English. I embedded the YouTube video in the show notes if you want to look at it. And of course, I've got his translated testimony right there in the show notes as well. And he told me that every 1st of September, he posts this video on his social media pages as a reminder, kind of like a birthday. That's his new birthday. And it's a special day for him anyway. Anyway, he told me that he couldn't drive over that bridge for about 2 years because he was just so psychologically damaged by it. But he says he can do it now. He wasn't badly injured by the fall. He just had some bumps and bruises. But boy, what a scare that must have been. What an experience. And of course, once again, it shows that if you chat up a taxista, in Spanish, you can get a whole lot more than just a good-looking girl in a strip club, if you know what I mean. Anyway, again, I embedded his video in the show notes. You can find it at www.puertovallartatravelshow.com. Now, I have a bunch of great emails from you listeners out there. You're so nice. Most of you are really, really nice. And you know what? Next week, I'm going to share some of those with you. And I'm also going to share some of those that aren't so nice. I want to share some of the ones that are a little crazy so you can get a little bit of a look into what my life looks like over here. I'm just trying to sell houses, folks, just doing my best, trying to sell houses and trying to sell y'all to get on over to Puerto Vallarta and see what's going on over there and, enjoy what's fun about life. But anyway, speaking about what's fun about life, let's get to our guest right now. Let's visit with Fernando Vasquez Whitney from Pacific Vape Shop in Puerto Vallarta, Mexico. Now, I first heard of Fernando from my buddies, Debbie and Ray. They are my Canadian friends who right now I stay with them almost every time I come into town. I needed a battery. I needed a battery for my special vape thing that I brought with me. I accidentally brought with me, it got stuck in my luggage and illegally, it seems. But anyway, it came undetected, and I needed a battery charger. And Debbie and Ray, they both assured me that they would have what I needed over at Pacific Vape, and they did. It is a fact, by the way, and it is illegal to bring electric cigarettes, to bring vaping devices and solutions into Mexico. It is also a fact that according to the FAA, you must carry e-cigarettes in your carry-on, and it can't be packed in your checked luggage, as it does have a lithium cell gadget involved in it. It is also a fact that selling vaping devices and e-cigarettes in Mexico, including in Puerto Vallarta, is illegal and prohibited by law. But guess what? They sell them all over the place. So never fear. If you had your e-cigarette or your vaping device confiscated by the National Guardsmen over at Customs, yeah, that's right. I saw the red light, green light brigade down there being manned by the National Guard this time. These guys really get around, don't they? And, Marty, by the way, still no face identification machine set up yet at the Puerto Vallarta airport. They do say they're coming, but not yet, though. But don't worry. They'll be here before you know it. But anyway, if you left your vape pen at home, never fear, you can still buy them in Puerto Vallarta at many, many places. And the main reason that you're hearing this topic is because of the all-out smoking and vaping ban, including outdoor smoking, which took effect across all of Mexico recently. I figured since vaping makes far less odor than cigarettes do traditionally, even though some of these e-cigarettes produce a smoke bomb volumes of smoke, the smell can still be almost undetectable with a vape pen, especially in comparison to the real cloud of smoke from a real pipe or a real cigarette. Now, there will be some of you who have no desire to hear about vaping and e-cigarettes, and I totally get that. Personally, I found it very interesting, but for those of you who just want to ditch the entire subject, the last 35 minutes or so of this podcast, we talk about restaurants and places and to go and things to do and just the regular kind of thing that we always talk about with all of our guests. So if you don't think that this topic is going to interest you like it interests me, well, you go ahead and just fast forward if you like. But as a layman, I found this subject extremely interesting. Fernando has a rich history that goes way, way back. So let's go. Let's go right now to the Locals Vape Shop, and now yours, where English is spoken fluently for those who are Spanish language challenged. It's off the beaten path. It's near Micro Plaza, Retorno de los Albatros, 130A, Aurelias. And let's meet Fernando Vasquez Whitney, Pacific Vape Shop in Puerto Vallarta, Mexico. Fernando, thanks for coming on the show today.
Thanks for inviting me. We're really excited to be here.
Tell us a little bit about yourself. Where are you from, and what was your path that led you to Puerto Vallarta?
Okay, so let's see. My father, he's originally from Guadalajara, which is here in the state of Jalisco. It's a capital, big city. And he was a lawyer there for many years, and him and a few brothers came down to Vallarta many years back. And, basically being young and scuba diving and, being beach boys and things like that. And they eventually opened up a restaurant here on the beach down on the Los Muertos side. There's right where the little boy on the seahorse statue is, kind of where those big stairs that go up there.
Oh, yeah.
So right there, right now there's like a white I think they're condos or something. But that used to be my dad's restaurant. It was called El Caballito de Mar. It was right next door to Mesa del Mar, the hotel. And basically, it was just a little seafood place, right on the beach there. It was actually
sweet.
It was elevated a little bit off the beach. There was some stone stairs you could go down. It's different now there, but that's how it used to be. And my mother, she's actually from Grand Rapids, Michigan. She's as white can be. She's got that, gecko transparent skin, bright blue eyes, full head of white hair. And basically, she came down here. She had two other sons, my brothers, Jason and Trevor. They're also completely American. For many years, my mom thought that she couldn't have children. She actually had a few abortions, stillborns, things like that, and she ended up adopting my brothers. And she was married to another man that didn't work out, and she came on vacation to Mexico and met my father on the beach. And basically, long story short, after a couple shots of tequila and some oysters, out came me.
That's a great story.
Yeah. So my mom basically moved down here with my two brothers. They're technically not my blood brothers, nor to my mother, but they've been around since I was born. They're my bros. I love them with all my heart. And basically, we moved down here. I think we were here just for a little bit. We moved back up to Guadalajara, and we lived there until I was about, I'd say, 5 or 6 years old. And my mom wanted me to get a stateside education, so we decided to move back up to the States. And we ended up, for some reason, in McAllen, Texas, and then from there we went to Indio, California.
Indio?
Yes, yes. Very hot. Very hot.
But, a dry heat.
Yes, yeah. I remember the neighborhood kids telling me that you could fry an egg on the sidewalk. I was like, yeah, right. Yeah, you could do it. And I was there probably, I think maybe like first, second grade. Then we moved up to the Bay Area.
Improvement.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. And it wasn't as expensive as it is now to live there.
Yeah.
And basically kind of fluctuated in between Sonoma and Marin County, but basically lived there all the way up through high school. Now, funny thing is my brother Jason, so he's my eldest brother, really tall guy, dirty blonde hair, blue eyes. When my mother moved down here and, met my father and all that, so when we moved back up to the States, my brother Jason stayed.
Oh, really?
Yes. So he was like, well, hell yeah.
Why
He was
not?
like 18,
Oh, yeah.
hanging out on the beach. He could drink down here. He's like, hell, screw that. I'm staying down here.
Yeah.
So, during all that time we were in the States, he was down here. And I remember one summer he calls us up and he goes, Mom, I met this girl. I'm in love. We're going to get married. Come down for the wedding. So he met my sister-in-law, Michelle. She's from Washington. She was also here on vacation, and they had their own little story. And basically, we all came down here for the wedding. Supposed to be a 2-week vacation, and I ended up just staying here. It's contagious.
You did what Jason
Right.
did.
Yeah, exactly. My parents went back up. My other brother went back to the States, and they eventually followed me down here a couple years after that. I think my dad, he always wanted to come back. My father's a lawyer here. He's an important person, and in the States, he's not. So he was working as a maintenance man at an apartment complex. And,
Yikes.
he did all right for himself. He just kind of hurt his ego a little bit. So he was happy to come back and be a lawyer again. And that's pretty much the story.
Wow, that's a great story.
Yeah.
So when you got here, you had to do something. So what did you do?
So basically, I wanted to do all the fun stuff my brother did when he was down here. Right?
Oh, you mean drink and surf? And
all
have a good
that
time.
fun stuff,
Yeah.
exactly. So the first job I got, he actually got it for me, was working for a scuba company down here. It was called Buzos Mundo Silencioso, Silent World Divers. And it was just it's a tiny little company. They only had a little boat. And they had a couple concessions at, I think, 2 or 3 hotels. It was the Las Palmas and the Las Glorias area over there. And there was like a palapa there where they had all the equipment. And, at first I was in charge of, rinsing all the salt water off. And eventually I was allowed to give beginner lessons of scuba diving in the pool. And then eventually, worked my way as I'm getting certified by Patty and all that.
Yeah.
And, eventually being able to take people out, scuba diving, stuff like that. And then I started working, I was kind of headhunted by a jet ski company, and went and worked for them for a while. As because I obviously I've spoken English and Spanish pretty much
I was going to
all
say,
my life.
you're all
I would
fluent.
do the instructions and charge the people and all that stuff. I did that for a long time. Ended up eventually working for Vallarta Adventures. I was a sailor and a /waiter /entertainer on the boat.
Wow.
And I did that for a year. That was a blast.
Did that pay you okay?
You know what? Funny enough, the wage isn't very good, but you can get a lot of money on tips. I mean, for a kid that my age, I was like, 18? No, I was like 19, 20, something like that. And, I was going home with maybe 1,500 pesos in my pocket every night.
Nice. Okay.
Which is,
yeah.
not bad at all for here. And at that time, it was pretty good.
really
Yeah.
actually good
And the thing is, if you have a good crew and you entertain the people on the boat, they'll usually, because you walk around with a half cut open 2-liter of soda, asking for tips at the end of the thing. And people are usually really happy to do it. And, so that was fun. Met lots of girls, had lots of fun. Eventually, I eventually started working in timeshare because that's
That's what you do.
yeah, that's what you do, and it's kind of a for sure way to make some decent money.
That's
down
good.
here.
So, yeah, there's money.
As long as because it's the type of business that it is. It's either you there's no kind of middle ground. You either do really well or you do really bad. You're either really good at it or you're not. And I ended up doing that for about 20 years. Down
So you
here.
were really good at it.
Yes, but I'll be honest with you. I think I enjoyed it at first, but it just wasn't fun anymore. I just didn't like going to work. I didn't like doing what I was doing. I didn't like the method, because at first it wasn't as difficult. You didn't have to be as sneaky and as, hide as much information, or it was a little more straightforward and easier to get sales, and a little more transparent. And then as the years progress, it's harder and harder and harder and harder because people know better. They know better, or they ask better questions, or they and stuff like that. So it got more difficult, and it's just something that I never really enjoyed. I was there because it made money and it helped me provide for my family, but it wasn't like, woo, this is what I dreamed of doing. Harassing people and forcing people to buy stuff from me. Nah, it's not really my cup of tea. So because I did decently well, I worked mostly in marketing, which is the OPC portion of it. Where you invite people. I've worked anywhere from the streets, booths, anywhere from what they call in-house OPCs, which are actually inside the hotel, dressed like it's a little bit more laid back. But I also worked in a bunch of different places. I've gone to Ixtapa, Zihuatanejo, Acapulco. I've worked in a bunch of different places doing this, and fortunately I did decently well. I had a little bit of money saved up. And that's basically what got me into vaping. Actually, my mother-in-law was the one that actually got me my first vape.
Yeah.
And I do you mind if I change?
No.
Something else?
This is good.
So basically. We're getting to talk about my vape shop and everything, but I kind of like to say a little bit how we got there and how everything happened. So all my life, I pretty much smoked, done drugs, drank things that from a very young age, that probably kids that were my age shouldn't have been doing. And
we all did it.
Yeah, well, we all did it.
I shouldn't say all. I know a couple didn't.
There's a few out there, right? But basically, I was smoking a lot. I already had 2 children by this point, and just kind of one day I was running with my kid. I was carrying him, or we were walking upstairs or something. I was pretty overweight at the time as well. I was probably about maybe 25 kilos, about 50 pounds heavier than now. I'm not a big guy, so it's all roundness.
When you go to the show notes and you see a picture of Fernando, you will see, he's a strong, very healthy guy.
Thank you, sir. And I realized I was huffing and puffing just going up a couple flights of stairs, and I'm still like, in my 30s. It's like, that shouldn't be happening. I shouldn't feel like this. I've done sports and, all my whole life, and I live martial arts, and I, do all kinds of stuff. I shouldn't be tired. And, I tried to quit smoking many times, cold turkey, patches, gum, just not buying cigarettes, but eventually, whether it be a night out with the friends where you have a couple beers and you go, F it, and you end up with a pack of smokes in your pocket the next day, or, things like that. I tried everything for a very long time. Kind of basically what the conclusion I came to is that I never really wanted to quit smoking. I like smoking. I enjoy smoking. I don't imagine having a cup of coffee in the morning without a smoke, or having a nice, delicious meal and then afterwards having a nice smoke. It's just strange.
It's in your blood.
It's something I enjoy. So how could I continue doing something I like without at least, not screwing myself up as much as I would with regular cigarettes, right?
Yeah.
And that was kind of when the whole vape rage was kind of going on. It had been going on. Things are a little delayed here in Mexico, as you know. So like fads and new things, they take a while to get down here. When I first came down here, movies took like a year, to show up at the theater. It's not as bad anymore, but. Basically, it interests me, and then my mother-in-law, she had actually bought one for herself, and I guess she had bought a newer one or a better one, and then she just kind of handed me down that one because I had talked to her that I wanted to quit smoking, and I thought it was wonderful. I was like, wow, this is awesome. Back then there was only just simple flavors. Like I remember the first flavor was like vanilla, and it's just basically like vaping vanilla, very strong, but it did the trick.
Uh-huh.
And I was like, wow, this is safer? And I still wasn't sure, it was still really
Sure.
new. Is it safer? I mean, what is this stuff that's vaporizing and going into my lungs? And so, as much as it did, kind of do the trick, and I wasn't smoking, and actually what some people do when they start vaping is they kind of wean off of it, and I just went straight from smoking to vaping, which was what I recommend. I think it's the best way to do it. But I basically just started getting curious as far as what is it? What's in it? What is supposed to be in it? It could be made many different ways, but what are the actual ingredients? What are the things that are supposed to go in there? That's what I wanted to find out. I mean, is it really better for me? Is it going to really help me out? I mean, obviously this had been about, a couple months into it where I kind of, that voice starts going, hey, you should probably think, look into what you're putting in your body, right?
There, yeah.
And what I did notice right away is, one, is I didn't stink, and people didn't mind standing next to me, and because it's so silly, and it's so funny because you don't notice these things until you actually stop doing them, particularly smoking. But I remember I'd be at work and I'd go take a smoke break, and I'd smoke my cigarette. I'd go scrub my hands and fingers really well, and I'd pop a chicle or some mints in, and I thought I was good to go. Nobody has a clue. Oh no, sir. Yeah, you reek. You stink really bad. And I didn't notice that until I stopped smoking. And then somebody that did exactly the same thing came up next to me. I'm like, whoa, that's what I used to smell like, right?
Yeah.
And just things like that I started to notice right away. I wasn't coughing up lung butter every morning. I wasn't getting as tired. I felt better. I mean, even just stuff like your sweat. Obviously everybody stinks when they sweat, but you don't stink as bad. There's lots of stuff in it. So as I'm looking into what's in vaping liquid, well, I'm also looking into what's in cigarettes, right?
Yeah.
And I unfortunately can't list all the things in cigarettes because it's over 8,000 ingredients.
Yikes.
Including arsenic, rat poison, all that fun stuff.
No.
Yeah.
Say it ain't so. Is there DDT in there too?
I don't know, but there's a lot of stuff in there. And then when I looked into vape ingredients, well, it ended up being there's only 4. There's only 4 ingredients, and one of them is optional. And I was like, wow, unless it's sulfuric acid, one of them, I mean, I think 4 is better than 8,000, right?
Yeah.
So what are these 4 ingredients? Please excuse me if I don't pronounce these correctly. I'm not a chemist. I'm not, I'm just a guy that has a vape shop, right? So basically, you have vegetable glycerin, which is in it. Vegetable glycerin is what produces the visible vapor, right? So
Okay.
the kind of the puff that you blow out and can see, that is the vegetable glycerin. That's what makes that go. Now, the scratch you get in your throat, which goes along with smoking, it's, you take a drag off a cigarette, it gives you kind of that scrape in the back of the throat. Otherwise, it just doesn't feel right. It feels, just different. There's an ingredient specifically for that, which is the throat hit, and that's called propylene glycol. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly.
Sure.
But what it is, or what it's one of the things it's commonly used for, it's actually a preservative in asthma inhalers.
Ah, okay.
That's what it's most commonly used for. So it's made for the lungs. It's
Right.
made for people who have asthma. And then the third ingredient would be flavoring. There's artificial, there's natural, but they sell all different types of flavoring. There's, you can get all kinds of stuff.
Yeah.
Anything you can imagine.
Oh, wait a minute. No, don't go there. Don't go there, Bear.
Yeah, I'm sure you'd be surprised. There was a flaming hot flavor once. Imagine, yeah, believe it or not, and yeah, there's quality of flavors. There's more natural, more synthetic, but it's all stuff used to consume. They use it for baking. They use it for all kinds of stuff. And the third ingredient, which is completely optional, is nicotine, right? So you can vape and enjoy the throat hit, enjoy the vapor without having the nicotine. You can just
Really?
do it that way if you wish.
Does it satisfy, or you just need that nicotine?
So look, I can only speak from my own experience. I won't lie to you. I like the nicotine high. I enjoy it. If I'm stressed out, that's the first thing I want to do, and it kind of calms me down somehow. Let's be straight here. I like how the nicotine makes me feel. So what's the difference between liking how caffeine makes you feel and nicotine makes you feel? Why is one so frowned upon as opposed to the other? Because usually when people think of cigarette addiction, they think of nicotine, right?
Yeah.
But what a lot of people may not know is that the thing that probably does less harm to you within the 8,000 ingredients that are in cigarettes is the nicotine. Nicotine is like caffeine or aspirin. You take too much, you drink too much coffee. Well, yeah, you're going to be jittery and uncomfortable and sweating and probably won't be able to go to sleep. But, that's why you don't drink too many cups of coffee.
Before you go to sleep.
Right, yeah. Exactly.
Yeah. There are people that are the opposite.
I'm one of those.
Yeah.
I can drink a cup of an espresso and go to bed if I wanted to.
Yeah.
It's really weird. And basically, that was the kind of what convinced me to switch to quit, to continue vaping, and I felt really good with it. I still feel really great about it. My health has improved significantly. I consider myself an athlete now. I do lots of exercise. I like to, go play with my kids and carrying them around and run around and, all that stuff. I like swimming. I like everything. And I could do things now that I wasn't willing to, or I couldn't do as long before. I feel great. My health is great. I haven't felt anything but improvements from stopping smoking and starting vaping. I know there's horror stories out there. There's people that it hasn't worked for, and it sounds kind of, I'm the guy that has the vape shop. Obviously, I'm going to talk wonders about it, but I'm being truthful about my personal story, and that's just how it's been for me. I have had no negative impacts from vaping. Is my lung capacity or strength is best or as good as it would be with if I didn't put anything in my lungs? Well, yeah, it'd probably be best if I didn't.
Right.
But I'm sure I have better lungs than our folks in Mexico City, and they don't even vape over there. They don't even have to vape.
Step outside. Yeah, I know that story.
So it's one of the things that one of the most common questions that we ask. They go, "Is this?" They'll say it in Spanish. "Me hace daño?" Is this gonna is this gonna do me harm, or is this gonna And I'm truthful. It's like, well, no, but neither does donuts or Doritos or too many pina coladas. It's not good for you, right?
Yeah.
It's going to screw you up one way or the other. You're going to get either, you're going to have some extra weight on you, or you're going to have problems with your liver or whatever. Things are going to screw you up. You just want to screw yourself up less, right? Not as fast, right?
Exactly.
And I tell these people, you don't want anything, well, then don't. Then stop eating sugar, only drink water, don't eat meat, and, do all that stuff, and you're going to live a long, wonderful life. But, a boring one, sure. But, if that's what you want, well, hey, have at it.
Yeah.
I like vaping. I like nicotine, and I feel healthy. I feel good, and I'm not gonna bore my life just because of something that might happen. Everything I've studied makes sense to me, and everything that I felt on my own accord, I feel great. So
yeah. So you've got a selection of things. If somebody is coming in, and let's just say that they are looking to quit smoking, do you have certain kinds of levels so you can kind of wean them off? Is that how you do it?
So yes and no. I mean, honestly, whatever's going to help the customer stop smoking, that's basically our objective. That's what we want. When I first started vaping, and when I was kind of looking into it and all that, the common theory was to wean yourself off of the nicotine little by little, so you can eventually also stop vaping and not have to vape or smoke.
Oh, I see. And
we do have customers that's what they want, and that's their objective, and that's fine. If we can help you stop smoking, And that's great. If you're going to eventually leave vaping, that's fine.
But you'll never see them again.
Maybe not. Maybe not. But we will try to educate them. And unfortunately, that's part of the issue is some people are uninformed. You know, when people, especially here in Mexico, I don't know, I haven't been in the States in a while or living there. But here, when you hear a Mexican, you know, say, ay, hijo, porque estás fumando? La nicotina te va a hacer daño. You know, it's always... There's this common theory that the nicotine's the bad part, not the arsenic, not the rat poison. It's the nicotine, right? But it's not. You know, it really isn't. It's just as bad with, you know, finger quotations I'm doing here as drinking coffee or too much coffee or, you know, taking too many aspirin on a weekly basis, etc.
Right.
So if I can, you know, kind of. If they can figure that out on their own, either look it up on their own or take my word for it or whatever, most people will end up staying with the nicotine because they like the feeling, you know? But like I said, whatever somebody wants to do, that's fine. But there's definitely a way to wean off. So there's basically there's two types of vaping style, and you have two different types of devices and two different types of liquids that you would use, right? So... Back in the day, it was just called regular e-liquid. Now I believe they call it freebase. And this is basically for larger devices. So if you're ever walking down the street and you see a guy puffing this huge cloud of, you know, of vapor, that's usually what it is. And it's a different type of liquid. It's a thicker liquid. It's much thicker, and it has more of a percentage of vegetable glycerin in it. That's how it produces those massive
smoke
clouds. Exactly. And there's what are called salt nicotine e-liquids. The difference between these is these are basically made for devices that produce a small amount of vapor. What do I mean by small amount? Like a puff off of a cigarette, right? Because some people don't want to do the whole, you know, cloud thing, and you know, and let's be honest, if you know, I vape, but I don't like to sit next to a table with a guy, you know, blowing clouds in my face. I don't enjoy that. So some people prefer to be discreet, you know, and they'll go for what's called the pod system, and basically these are just smaller devices that produce a smaller amount of vapor. So it would be equivalent to a drag off of a cigarette, maybe even a little bit less of vapor production. But the difference with these, it's a thinner liquid, so there's less vegetable glycerin in it, so there's less of a cloud, and there's a little bit more of a throat hit, and the concentration of the nicotine is higher. The reason is just the volume of vapor that's entering your body. So, for example, with the devices that produce the large clouds of vapor, they use the freebase liquids, and those usually they use it at about 3 milligrams per milliliter. So per milliliter of liquid, there's 3 milligrams of nicotine within that milliliter of liquid. And you could inhale a large volume of that into your lungs and not, you know, getting too much nicotine.
Go crazy.
In, right, exactly.
Yeah.
And as opposed to the pod device and the salt nicotine, that is very concentrated. So all you need is a little bit of drag, a little bit of volume. It's a lot more volume, 3 milligrams as opposed to 30 milligrams, right? So you just take a smaller drag and a smaller amount enters your body, and it's basically the equivalent. It ends up being just about the same. And that's how that works, right? So I used to have the rebuildable devices, you know, the big cloud makers and stuff like that, and it's cool and fun. I don't have the time to you know, clean the coils and do the whole thing because you got to rebuild.
There's a process.
There's a whole thing to it. And I just basically, you know, I got 4 kids and a few businesses, and I'm running around all the time. And I just love these pod systems because you can just chuck them in your pocket. They, you know, you charge them when you go to sleep at night. Goes for the whole day. And I'm usually fine, but I'll always take I'll take my bottle of e-liquid with me and carry it around. If I run out, I'll just fill it up, and I'm good to go for the whole day and take it anywhere. It's pretty awesome.
So these little, I guess we call them vape pens, you know, over in California. You push a button and take a drag, right? They're just like the battery operated ones, right?
Right. So there's different types. So we have disposables, and these are just for people that don't want to deal with any type of hassle or refilling any type of liquid. They just want to basically grab their device and go and vape on it, and then when they're done, they just chuck it, right? And these devices, usually depending on what brand it is or what you get, there's anywhere from 300 puffs all the way up to 5,000 puffs, right?
Ah,
So
wow.
you should get that amount of puffs off of each device, just
Interesting.
depending. And obviously there's amounts in between.
Mm-hmm.
I'll be honest, as much as we're a business and we like to make money, but we also, we're in the business of keeping our customers and doing the best for them and making, helping them make the best decision for them to stop smoking, because we want them to come back, or at least we want to help them stop smoking. As opposed to, unfortunately over the years here, some of our competitors are more focused on sell a lot now, who cares if they don't come back,
Yeah.
And so we usually try to pick what's best for them. So to be honest, disposables are more expensive in the long run, right? And they're not exactly the best for the environment either.
Right.
So basically, but people that don't want to deal with it, that don't like the hassle or have the money and just don't care, they usually go after the disposables. A lot of the tourists or people that are here on vacation, most of the time it's not so much that they didn't bring anything with them, as that they had a good time last night and they ended up in the ocean with their vape in their pocket,
Yes, or it got taken at the airport.
Right.
Because they're doing that too,
So, usually we see a lot of that. But we also have a lot of, expats that either are here year round or come down during, different times of the year, and they, they're great, and they come in, they know we're here, and they'll buy their stock and what they need and sit and chat and hang out with us for a little bit. And, that's cool as well. We have lots of local customers, that's something that we left very clear from the beginning. See, one thing I didn't mention was that when I started this, we started kind of just like a vape club. I didn't even think of doing a business. It wasn't really in my plans at the beginning. I mean, it eventually turned into that, but it didn't even cross my mind. I didn't think it was something that would be possible. But kind of it was all the stars aligned type of deal, and it ended up working out. But what happened is that my brother and I, we kind of started, we stopped smoking and doing this vape thing together. And we had this subscription. If you live in the States, you can check it out. It's kind of cool. It's called Sample Box, right? So it's this company that sends you samples of e-liquid, right? So basically they partner up with a bunch of different e-liquid brands in the U.S., and they send them 15 milliliter bottles of their liquids with the hope that, somebody that tries one of those samples will eventually go back and buy a full bottle of that e-liquid, right? Yeah. And it was really cool because you log in, you create your account, and you can actually design what you want, what type of stuff you want sent to you. So do you want tobacco flavored liquids? Do you want mint flavored liquids? Do you want fruity liquids? Do you want dessert liquids? Do you want, what do you want? And you can actually specifically pick certain flavors and stuff that you specifically don't want, like maybe flavors that you hate. And it was really cool because they send you a little box of I think it was 10 liquids. And you would, try them all out, and it was really fun and exciting to get the box, and you'd try all the different flavors, and you'd go back online, and then you'd rate your box. You'd be like, oh, send this one again. Don't ever send me this one.
Yeah.
I like this, didn't like that. And that was really, really cool. And that's how we were kind of, doing it just for our own personal consumption for a while. And eventually, the boxes started disappearing at the post office. They started, and then, we would put in a claim, and they'd resend another box, and that one eventually would get here, but it would take forever. And eventually they just canceled the international subscriptions. They just basically say, you know what, it's too much of a hassle. Sorry, can't do it anymore. So that's why I said, if you're in the States, check them out. It's pretty cool. So when that happened, we always knew that there were some vendors. There was a guy over in Galerías for a while, but we knew he was, selling 3-4 times the market price. I mean, just ridiculous. But it was all people here on vacation that didn't know any better. People just starting off that didn't know any better. And he did well for a really long time. We just struggled. We would order from some guy in Guadalajara, but it wasn't really, it wasn't always certain. Sometimes he had, sometimes he didn't. And we were just really struggling to find just vape for us to consume and to not smoke cigarettes. So we said, why don't we just start making our own? Why don't we just start making our own, how we like it, the flavors that we like? We don't have to, discover eventually. Just say, hey, I like this and that. Let's just make it. And we basically looked at a bunch of YouTube videos and tutorials and went online and studied and looked and basically figured out how to do it. You know, it's you know, we here in Mexico, at least the e-liquid makers call themselves alchemists. You know, it's a little, but there's no actual, you know, I think the only person that would be actually certified or whatever would be a chemist, and I'm no chemist, but it's something a lot of people do. You can make your own liquid at home. And basically we just found some company in the States that will sell you everything. They'll send you all the ingredients. We would order at that time, which is, you know, made a big deal for everything, is a family member of mine basically does importations from U.S. to Mexico, kind of like El Chapo kind of
really
bypassing.
Is this like a something that someone could take advantage of, a service that someone could take advantage of if they were living here?
Absolutely. So,
we'll come back to that.
Okay.
Tell us about that.
Okay. So, as I was saying, so we found a way to be able to cross, you know, merchandise that we would purchase from the U.S. over into Mexico with, you know, bypassing customs and things like that.
Yeah.
And so we started making our own e-liquids, you know, and it was great. We made this one that was Mountain Dew, and it was just delicious. It was just awesome. We had made another one was like a glazed cinnamon roll, and, you know, some other stuff, banana creme brulee with banana, and you know, it's really good stuff. Really, you know, and we made it exactly how we wanted it. And what eventually happened, we get together with other buddies that also vaped, and, you know, we'd show off our liquid, and they would try it, and they would all go, "Oh my God, you know, this is incredible. Why aren't you guys selling? Oh my God." And we're like, "Wow, really?" You know, we're like, "What?" We're like, "Yeah, this is way better than some of the national brands that's out there. So why don't you guys start your own e-liquid company?" It kind of was just like a joke, like a kind of like, yeah, maybe, you know, one day, whatever. And just sat down with my brother one day, and I was like, "Well, dude, let's try it out, man. You know, why not?" I had a job at the time, but I didn't. I was in a position where I didn't have to be that much time there, and I had a little bit of free time, and so we started up. We started up F&T Vapor Co. or Vapor Company. F, Fernando, that's me. T, Trevor, that's my brother. And that's kind of how the whole journey started. That's how it was. And we basically started manufacturing our own brand of e-liquid here in Mexico. We at one point had about 15 states with a distributor, and we were sending out, you know, tons of e-liquid on a weekly basis. And we'd been a bunch of YouTube channels and stuff like that, and, you know, we had a couple reviews out there were some YouTube reviewers that reviewed our brand, but basically what ended up happening was that there just ended up being a lot of competition, and we were doing this as a, you know, it was like we had a garage lab,
hobby,
you know,
it was a hobby,
just doing it from our house, and there were actually people with good money and investing in labs and doing them and mass producing and doing way faster.
The big boys,
exactly, the big boys. And, you know, we just kind of died out. It was what eventually happened, and it was just too much work and too much price, you know, reduction to be able to compete. But, you know, along the way, I started selling, you know, other brands of e-liquid and devices out of an extra room that I had in my house. And, you know, I started off just literally with a few things and just selling to my buddies, and they would bring a friend, and then I'd get more stuff, and they'd bring more friends, and eventually people would start calling me saying, "Hey, you're the vape shop?" And I was like, "Well, hey, I guess." I'm just trying to, you know, earn a couple extra tacos for my family this month. That's all, you know. And eventually, you know, just more people started calling, and more people started coming, and, you know, it was eventually just kind of, you know, strangers that just ended up coming, knocking on my door. And I was like, what the, you know? And, you know, nothing good, luckily enough, nothing bad or anything like that. We were living in a gated community at that time, so it was all right. But yeah, that's kind of how it started. And, you know, I just started getting more and more. And you know, my wife one day said, "Okay, that's enough. I don't want, you know, people walking in and out of our house."
Fernando,
yeah.
You know,
and,
get going.
So and this is kind of, the struggles that we go through. I mean, unfortunately, there's a lot of bad publicity out there. For starters, I'm not here to convince anybody. Everybody, they can make their choices and do what they want to do and believe what they want to believe, and that's fine. I have no problem with it. I don't like being told what to do or what to believe either. So, everybody. But, I mean, the only thing I would say is at least just before you have a strong opinion on something, at least do the research. It's all there. It's in Google. You can look it up. You can see what ingredients are, what's actually in it, what actual, and you hear, for example, a lot of time there was a lot of these stories on the news about devices exploding on people. And there were even, pictures of guys with their faces all mangled in the hospital and their hand and stuff like that. And, are some of those true? Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Some of those are true. But what they don't explain is that the devices that they're using are what we call mechanical devices, right? These are devices without any chips or any, motherboards or anything like that says, hey, this is too hot, this is too electrically powerfully charged, this is, there's nothing to stop anything. Basically, it's a metal tube, and you have a 18650 battery in there, and you screw on a little piece at the bottom, and it's like a button. And then at the top, you screw on the atomizer, which is the device that you put liquid in, and it produces the vapor. So for those of you that don't know how vaping devices work, and a lot of you that say smoke, so just to clear that up, there is no smoke. There's not one bit of smoke. There is no combustion. There is no fire. There's no smoke at all. That's one of the main benefits, is you're not putting smoke in your lungs. It's vapor. I know it's just a commonality, because you see that you think smoke is a frequency, but it's not. And just to clear that up, but all it is, it's a piece of stainless steel wire that's basically rolled up into a coil. One end's negative, one end's positive, and when you hit your button, that coil heats up. That's all it is. Okay, so what it does, what's the purpose of it heating up? Well, you want it to heat up to vaporize the liquid, right? To turn it into vapor. But you can't just put it on there, because it's just a metal coil. The liquid's just going to go right through it, right?
Yeah.
So what you do is you put a piece of organic cotton, clean organic cotton. There's organic clean cotton that's sold specifically for vaping. And you put a little piece through that coil, and you moisten that cotton and coil up with the e-liquid. So now what happens is it's the liquid's there, but it stays there because it's stuck on the cotton, right?
Yeah.
And you hit the button, and it starts vaporizing the liquid, and you basically are inhaling that into your lungs and blowing it out again. It's vapor,
and it doesn't burn or affect the cotton, right? Or does it?
It will if it dries out. Right.
Okay, so you need to use it.
Right. You need to basically. So the device, we're talking about the devices that exploded based on these bad stories that we'd see on the news. So this particular way of vaping is what you do. They're called drippers. So you would actually grab the liquid and put it on this big coil and like pour it over it. And there's like almost like a little pool that it sits in. Uh-huh. And it's basically the cotton is just, it's like a reservoir. Right. And the cotton's soaking that up and redistributing it to the middle. Right, like a wick, exactly, like a wick. And every once in a while, you have to fill up that reservoir again, right?
Got it, yeah.
If it ends up drying, you'll burn the cotton, and it's going to taste really gross, but aside from that, it's just burnt cotton.
Okay,
right?
yeah.
So as long as, some people I'm very fussy. As soon as it starts tasting a little burnt, because it eventually happens, right? Whether it's like the devices we're talking about right now, or a pre-assembled device, eventually it'll burn. It'll taste gross. So you can change your coil or your cotton at that point, whenever you want.
Okay.
And some people can go for 2 months with this nasty burnt coil, and they're fine with it. Whatever tickles your pickle, right?
Yeah. But this is
correct. So we're talking about the mechanical device. So like I said, it's a metal tube. Most of the time, it could be stainless steel, it could be brass or copper. Those are most, because they're at least the copper and brass are fairly conductive. And then there's a button at the bottom that you screw on with the battery in the middle, just touching directly the button. One end of the battery and the other end of the battery is touching the atomizer, right? And basically, what it does is when you press the button, it releases the entire power of the battery at that one time, right? Because there's nothing there to regulate it. There's no chip. There's no nothing, right? So it just releases the entire power of that. And obviously, it just gets that coil going, right? And it releases a bunch of vapor, and you inhale it and you blow out these giant clouds of smoke, and people do tricks with them, and they do these jellyfish, just really cool stuff. It's amazing some of these things that these guys do. And the issue is, since these are unregulated mechanical devices, if it heats up too much, or if something goes wrong, there's no chip, or there's nothing to protect you from it, right?
Yeah.
And batteries are batteries. Batteries can explode, right?
Yeah.
So what happens sometimes is that these people, you have to maintain these devices. So since they are brass or copper, they will get help me with the word. What is it?
Tarnish.
Patina. They'll get tarnish, patina on it, and it won't conduct as well, or will do false contact or stuff like that. Or what also happens is on the battery sometimes, or on all batteries, there's like a sleeve on it, right? Like a plastic sleeve, right? And basically it holds an insulator in place so it doesn't do a false contact, right? So a metal part that shouldn't be touching another metal part, it prevents it from doing that.
Interesting.
And sometimes for these guys, just being
They just pull the sleeve
irresponsible,
off.
you're supposed to throw these batteries around every 6 months and get brand new ones. That's what you're supposed to do. Some people use them for a long time. They actually have wraps that we sell for you to rewrap your batteries, so that doesn't happen to you, right?
Yeah.
But basically, some people just don't care, or they're careless, or they're young, or
they don't know.
or they don't know,
Yeah.
or the person. That's the other thing, is that we don't sell mechanical devices to newcomers. If you don't know what you're doing, we won't sell it to you. I mean, it's just, we don't want any issues. We don't want people getting hurt to look cool or whatever.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So that's what happens in these cases. That
Okay.
people are screwing around, doing stupid stuff. They don't know what they're doing. And yes, there's a chance it could explode and mess you up, or mess up your hand or something. And yeah, unfortunately, the mainstream media has made that there's vape devices in general. They think you're just out having an ice cream with your family, and just one day it's just going to explode and everybody dies. I mean, it's ridiculous.
Yeah.
It's silly. They don't put any context into it. They don't explain what happened. They just said vape exploded, hospital, and that's all people get. And they go, "Oh, don't stay away from that vaping." You know what I mean? It's just,
No, I know what you mean.
It's silly. But
now those particular devices, they're probably not used as much as the other pen, the vape pens,
at one point,
right?
they were really popular because there was a lot. You would see a lot of the Instagram, these videos of these guys doing
blowing the
tricks,
smoke
the
signals,
cloud,
right? Yeah,
And
the
everybody wanted
SOS.
to do that,
But
But it actually died out. It's not that popular anymore.
well,
Just
that's
kind
good, because
it is
fewer
It is.
explosions,
It
which is cool.
And the other thing that really impacted us, significantly, and they did a whole campaign down here. They were blaring it on every radio station about, the thing that was happening that they were talking about is true. People were really getting crystallized lungs and messing themselves up and going to the hospital, and young kids and all this. All that stuff is true. But what they don't explain, it's not traditional vaping. It's not they don't explain what actually caused these things. So allow me to explain. All these cases where you hear where people had like these crystallized lungs, or they were in the hospital, or they have all these tubes connected and they can't breathe and blah, blah, blah. That's not vaping. That is basically basically moonshined THC, backyard chemists, doing THC oil in their garage, basically, right? And you're supposed to dilute with a certain types of oils that are safe to be vaporized and put into your body. And what a lot of them started doing, either because somebody else they saw did it, or they didn't know, or somebody told them it would work, or whatever, they started putting vitamin E and diluting it with vitamin E. And if you vaporize and inhale vitamin E, it
will crystallize
it will mess your butt up big time.
Yeah.
And once again, mainstream media decided to make that just vaping. They didn't explain. They didn't specify. This is all vaping. Don't vape. You will die. And that was it. And I mean, it was
how convenient
crazy.
Was that? Because the e-cigarette, obviously, never mind. I know that story.
Yeah, and that's Unfortunately, there's people that are going to listen to that, and if your government's telling you and it's on the radio, a lot of people assume it's true. Unfortunately, I would say more so here, and sometimes just people don't take the time to educate themselves and actually say, hey, you know what, that doesn't make sense.
What really happened? What really happened?
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
And the first thing it's put out a bad name for us. It's taking a completely viable way for people to quit smoking out of the options, because people think it's going to kill them, it's going to crystallize their lungs, or it's going to do this or do that. And you understand, when people don't want to get hurt, they want to take care of themselves. But unfortunately, a lot of that campaign that they did down here on the radio, it really messed us up. And we had wives telling their husbands, no,
stop,
do it, and,
don't go back, don't see them again.
Right. And funny enough, it died down again, and people kind of forgot about it, and then people came back to vaping, and but they keep trying with these things, and it's the funny thing is that all the information's out there. There's even a vape association, which we are a part of. It's basically the Mexican Vape Association, and they're constantly in Mexico City, Monterrey, fighting, basically for our rights, trying to get in with Congress and do basically like information sessions and protests and things like that. So they're fighting for us. They're trying to make it work, but being honest, it's all money. It all comes down to money. That's what it's all about.
Yeah.
And that's why it is illegal. So when I first started, the importation was the part that was illegal, right? It was illegal to import into Mexico. And but it was very vague and gray areas if you could sell or not, right?
Right.
So you could go right now to the Presidencia here and get a license and open up a store and start selling vape stuff. As long as you got the paperwork and everything, you can go do it. That's not a big deal. Basically, the city goes, this is just more money for us. It's income for the city. Go ahead, here's your thing. But if COFEPRIS, which would be basically like the what would it be? Would it be like Food and Drug Administration, I guess? Yeah, I guess that's
maybe,
what
maybe
like
the Health Authority, right?
Health Authority. Yeah, there you go. Health Authority. I think that's what it would be. If they came to your store and basically what they're going to ask for is show me the importation documents, which no one will have.
Uh-huh.
No one, right? There's none of the vape products in Mexico right now are legally imported. They're not.
They're all made here.
It doesn't. No, it's not all made here. It's just
not legally imported.
Not legally imported. Exactly.
Got it.
And basically, no one's going to have any paperwork. So they'll take your stuff, everything, and they'll say, okay, well, we'll release it to you when you show us the documentation, which you will never have and never get, and you've lost everything. So, it's... And in my case, I don't have investors. I don't have a corporation. I'm just a guy. I'm just a dude that started a vape club, and it turned into a store, and it helps me, support my family. So if they do that to me, I'm screwed. They take everything,
Yeah.
and I mean, I might be able to recover. I don't know. So I didn't want to take that risk. I understood the risk of not being on the Melicon or being out in the open, or, that's the other thing too, is that, especially first timers down here, they don't want to be walking around some neighborhood looking for some store that looks like a house from the outside. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
But the negative impact of me putting up a sign and allowing these guys to come in anytime and take my stuff away is much worse than me maybe not getting as much publicity. Or
Absolutely. So
right?
Therefore, no sign out front.
Exactly.
Okay.
And that's
Right. That makes total sense.
One of the
right?
first things you asked me, and that and the other part is that this is a residential area, and my contract here is in a residential apartment. And I actually have a little plaque downstairs. I don't know if you noticed. It says Casa Medusa.
I did see that,
But
yeah.
it has my logo of my vape shop, which is a little vapor jellyfish, right? And that's kind of a way of saying, hey, this is a private home, but hey, wink, wink, that's the same as the logo. Oh, it must be here.
Good,
And that's basically, we didn't even have it before. So it was really difficult, and people, kind of didn't, were
They
kind of
didn't-
weirded
they didn't
out.
get it.
Sure. And,
They didn't get
and,
it.
And I understand that. I mean, if it's your first time in Mexico and you just want to get a couple vapes, and all of a sudden you go, out of the strip and into some neighborhood, and it's just some staircase and some guy buzzes you in. Well, sure, I get it. I totally understand, and there's been times where people show up at the taxi out front like, yeah, it's here. And they're like, no, we're good. And they just keep
You watch
going.
it happen,
It's like,
huh? Well, all right.
And, most of the times it's people here on vacation. But, I understand. I mean,
Yeah.
I'd probably
Well, they're
freaked
not-
out in a country I've never been in my life
They're not used to it,
before
right?
either.
They're not used to it, yeah.
So, that's the only thing. And now, putting out that plaque in front has helped us out a lot. People kind of eventually figure out.
They
And
figured
we've
it.
been here for a while. We've been around since 2016. I'm just kind of trucking along. There were a couple times where we were, very close to closing down or not recovering, from some of these hits we've gotten over the year down here. But basically, this is where we're at today. We have a good Google listing. We have a pretty good rating right now. I think we're like 4.9 or something like that.
Everybody loves you.
Over
Everybody loves you.
60 reviews, I think. And like I said, we're interested in having repeat customers. We're interested in talking to you when you come in, and chatting it up. We're probably gonna ask you, hey, how you doing? We love animals too. So we're pet friendly. If you bring your pup or your whatever, we're probably gonna want to pet it and say hello. And we like our customers. They're our friends. They come, they hang out, we chat. And that's just kind of the atmosphere, the vibe that we want to give off. We're not some tourist trap trying to squeeze every last penny out of you. That's not we fortunately we do well. We have a lot of customers. We just want to do what's best for you and make a friend. And and you guys are welcome to come by anytime you want. Hang out here on the terrace. Use some free internet. We got a little old-fashioned arcade machine.
Yeah, you do. That's
play some
great.
video games or whatever. But yeah, that's basically it. So once again, since we're so kind of hidden away, and I've explained the reasons why we are hidden away.
Well, don't worry about that. I'll have a Google map. It'll be in the show notes. You'll find it at www.puertovallartatravelshow.com, which will take you right to the front door, so you won't be at all confused or, turn around and run down the street, okay? You don't want to do that. Now, tell us about what you've got. What do you have in the counters? What are you selling? You're selling...
So basically, we try to have just a little bit of everything. We have... so we're really big on promoting our national brands. There's a lot of really, really, really good national brands here that I would rank as good quality as the U.S. brands. The U.S. Branded e-liquid, they're kind of like the top of the market or the best. But we have 3 national brands that we distribute here in the store. That we love. They're really good. So that's also neat. You can try a national brand. Maybe you used to vape in the same stuff back home, but you can try some from Mexico. Kind of even like a little souvenir.
Yeah.
With the bottle,
Yeah.
And from those brands, we have either free base, which is for regular vape devices, or we also have for the pod systems, which is the salt nicotine. And then we also have imported e-liquids. So all the popular brands that everybody loves, the Yogis and the Jam Monsters and the Bad Drips and the Naked and the all the really well-known popular brands. Also, both are available in free base or in salt nicotine. And we also have a very big selection of disposable devices. Sometimes, people, this is for different uses. Some people just use it to travel with. I know when I travel, I always take a couple disposables with me just in case, because I don't want to be left without a vape, Sometimes it's just easier. You got to run. You got to head out the door. You got to go run somewhere. You don't have time to fill up your device. You just grab a disposable and take off. Or, and like I said earlier, some people just don't like to deal with the hassle, and they just rather vape it until it's done, throw it away, and open another one.
Yeah.
We also have all different types of devices for any type of vaping style. You know, some guys like the big, heavy. You know, we have this one device that's called the Aegis, and it's basically destruction. It's basically destruction proof. And this thing, you know, it's funny because when they do reviews on it, they chuck it in a pool. It's waterproof. It's dust proof, shock proof. They threw it off like a 5-story building. A car ran over it.
Oh, yeah.
You know? So it's like
You
this
need one of
heavy
those.
duty, bulky, ultra protected vape device. You know, some people like that. You know, Chuck's major clouds, as we would say. And then there's kind of like the traditional long, you know, vape pen type devices that are, you know, you commonly see. Really popular right now are those same devices that are coming out, but basically in a smaller square form, a little bit more compact. You can, you know, put it in more places or in a pocket, or it's not, you know, just this long thing in your pocket.
Yeah, and that's about the size of one of these little small.
Like probably
What is
like
it about? Like, it's like 1.5 by 1.5?
matchbox,
2
like
by
a
2?
larger matchbox, probably like a
Yeah.
camping match. No, I don't know.
Yeah, that's
something
about right.
like that,
Yeah, okay.
And you know, there's even smaller ones. There's very super thin ones. There's, you know, big bulky ones. There's pretty ones. There's colors, all different types of colors, all different types of styles. There's ones that you can hang around your neck. I usually have. I don't know what I did with it, but I usually have that on because I leave stuff everywhere,
Right. So
you
it's
know,
easy.
and then I don't
Right.
know,
It's always
walking
with
around
you.
looking for it, or you know, mostly in the middle of the night when everyone else is asleep and I still want to watch a couple shows on the TV. The lights are off because I don't want to wake up the baby, and I always end up going, "Damn it, where did I leave it? Is it on?" You know, am I sitting on it? And you have like this lanyard you can connect it to, and it just hangs from your neck,
Yeah.
right? So it's always there.
As long as your head is on, you should
matter
probably
what.
have it there,
Yeah.
right? Yeah.
Yeah, you look a little corny, but I don't care.
It works.
I'm always ready.
That's right.
So we basically, like I said, disposables, liquids, refillable devices, all kinds of stuff. So, and we also have, we just started implementing smoke shop stuff basically this year.
Yeah.
We were just pretty much strictly vape products since always. But it was very common that people would call us thinking we're a smoke shop. We always had to kind of turn them away. And one day we said, well, let's just bring a few things. And, you know, those things started selling and we started bringing more. And so we have a decent smoke shop section here. You know, we have some glass blown pipes, some nice bongs. We have cones, like hemp cones, which basically these are kind of cool because it already comes like in a cone shape and it has like a crutch on it already. And these, you basically just, you know, pour your flour in there and compact it in, and it's an easy way to roll.
And you're ready to go. You don't have to roll it.
Exactly. You don't have
worry
to roll
about
it.
all the sweat dripping into it.
There you go. Or bunching it up in the middle or anything like that. You know, we also have blunt wraps of all kinds of all the flavors you can imagine. Sneakatoaks, all kinds of stuff. There's all kinds of stuff. Also, we have batteries for cartridges for those of you that use the THC cartridges or anything like that. We also have the batteries that you can use with those.
Let's leave the vape shop just for a second. Let's leave Pacific Vape for just a moment.
Sure.
We're in Los Sauces. Los Sauces?
Los Sauces.
Los Sauces.
So
tell us a little bit about this neighborhood. It is quiet.
yes.
It is really quiet.
It is very quiet. There's the occasional Coca-Cola or garbage truck that'll come by, but it's usually very quiet. Usually a nice breeze coming through. Unfortunately, not today. But this is just basically a residential area. For those of you who are familiar with Vallarta, we're kind of next to the Macro Plaza. It's where the other Walmart is, kind of near PTL. It's right next door to that plaza. So basically this area here, it's Gaviotas, which is over kind of where the Protección Civil and the radio station is. And if you're heading towards PTL, kind of the next neighborhood from that is Las Arralias. And then after that, it's Los Sauces, and that's where we're located. It's kind of in between the Farmacia Guadalajara, that's on Francisco Villa, that's in the Las Arralias area, and in between the Macro Plaza, which is that shopping center where the Walmart is. So
right.
Kind of that area.
So if you come out here and you're wondering, well, what will you do while you're out here? Just go to Las Aurelias and get yourself a taco.
There you go.
Right? So you might as well just make it a twofer.
Yeah, totally.
Come visit here and then go to the taco
actually,
stands.
just up the street here, there's all kinds of places where they sell fresh fruit and vegetables. There's a farm. There's all kinds of things. They sell all kinds of stuff. Really good. There's some tacos de barbacoa about 2 blocks from here that are delicious. Really, really good.
All right. Well, they'll point you the right way.
You can even do your shopping at Walmart. It's right next door here. So.
Well, that's good. See,
Yeah.
this is very good. All right. We talk about places to eat because we are all looking for places, new places, different places.
Okay.
Are you a breakfast guy? You get out and eat at all for breakfast? Any places that you like? One of your favorite places?
I'm definitely a breakfast guy. I'll be honest with you. I'm a very big taco fan. That's like if you could feed me tacos for the rest of my life, and I would be happy.
Me too.
Very happy. But let's see. I mean, a lot of these places, probably everybody knows. But I'm going to try to think of a kind of like a hidden gem that people may not know of or may not be aware of. So everybody's heard of Tacón del Marlin, right?
Yeah.
Everybody's heard of that place, right? So they're the ones that kind of made it big and got popular and got their name out. It's more socially known.
Uh-huh.
But they're not the originals. They actually copied off of the originals.
Oh, who knew?
Not a lot of people know this.
Yeah.
So the originals is actually called La Burra Marinera. So the sailor donkey, right? Which is actually also same word for a burrito. This place first started as a little stand in Versailles. Before Tacón de Marlin even existed.
Wow.
Yeah.
And before anything else in Versailles existed.
Yeah. It was just that place, and there was another place that sold regular beef burritos. They were like on the other corner.
Yeah.
And they were there for a while. It wasn't really well known, but I somehow discovered it, and they were just these delicious seafood burritos. I mean, just absolutely spectacular. It's the same thing. You can get either just the shrimp or just the octopus, or octopus and shrimp, or you can get smoked marlin and either of the three or all three together. Basically that burrito that they have at Tacón del Marlin, this is where actually it started. They are now located at the stadium over kind of up from the Sheraton.
Yeah.
So there's a side of the stadium there that sells. There's a bunch of booths.
Yeah, there's a row. There's a row.
Exactly. The first one is a really well-known birria place. I forget the name, but it's a few down, and it's there. It's called La Burra Marinera. There's one also over by the bus station as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
So if you haven't
Great
tried,
call.
if you like Tacón de Marlin, go there. Those guys are amazing.
Those are the original
Really
guys.
good stuff. Really, really good stuff.
Well, we want to support the original dudes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Totally.
Yeah, I mean, that recipe got stolen for
I know.
goodness sake.
I mean, probably by 15 other
yeah, probably
shops
so.
now,
Believe
right?
me, agreed. What about lunch places? You got any favorites?
So, look, I used to get out a lot. I used to go to the kind of the typical.
I don't get out anymore, Barry.
The typical restaurant, but I go to a lot
I
more.
got 100 kids. I got a vape shop. I
had a dirt sandwich this morning.
I had a cat. I got everything going on.
But we like there's what are some of the places that we used to go out to a lot? I don't know. I mean, everybody knows Freddy's Toucan. We like Freddy's Toucan. How about have you heard of the Tacos Marisma? Tacos Marisma, the fish tacos over by the small tunnel.
Yes,
those are absolutely amazing as well. Those shrimp and fish tacos. I'm sure you've talked about that.
Oh yeah, no, a lot of people like it, and of course the sauces that they have there are great. Amazing. I mean, that's what makes it all happen over there.
That avocado sauce is killer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What about date night? Where do you like to go? When you get a babysitter who's brave enough to watch all your kids.
Unfortunately, it hasn't been in a while. Let's see. Funny enough, even though I worked on that actual excursion for a while, and we've done it a couple of times. But one thing we that never kind of fails. I know it might sound touristy or kind of silly, but we like. Every once in a while doing a Rhythms of the Night, it's romantic. It's just the two of us, get a nice little table out there and, watch the show, have a nice meal, get a little boat ride, some dancing on the way back. That's a nice thing that we would like to do to get away. Mostly we like to travel. We like to get out. We like to, pack the car up. We go to Guadalajara a lot. We go and eat there a lot. You do the tortas ahogadas, and you do, you go all the good places there.
And you've got family in Guadalajara too, so you got a place to stay.
Oh, absolutely, and we actually always stay with family. It's really nice. Well, I mean same goes down here, and everybody wants to come down to the beach. So
no way.
We see a lot of family down here.
No way. I can't believe that. I can't believe that. Oh man, Rhythms and Night. Yeah, that's a great choice.
Yeah,
good
it's cool.
pick.
I mean, if it's cool to get away with the missus and do something romantic. But you know what? I'll be honest with you. We haven't been out much lately. There's probably a bunch of new stuff. That's the thing about Vallarta is that you could see a restaurant that looks like it's up and running, doing well, and 3-4 months down the road, and it's not there anymore. And something else is in its place. So I'm not even know what's around anymore.
Yeah, well, it's because you're working, right? You got a life. You got it's like you're not on vacation.
You ever talked about the red cabbage?
I've had people talk about it, but I've never been there.
I'm not even sure if it's still around anymore.
She is, but she takes off the summer, and I have a hard time getting a hold of her, so I'd love to.
Chiles en nogada there are the best in town.
Yeah.
Absolutely phenomenal.
Yeah.
Those are really, really good. But like I said, I haven't been there in a while.
Yeah, one of these days I'm going to get in there and talk to her and get an interview.
Awesome.
If you had just a day off, because we'd already talked about your 3-day trip. You're going to Guadalajara. If you got a day off and you were just going to go somewhere and back, where would you go?
Okay. So we do a few of those. So what's the most recent thing we did? We went up to Palo Maria. So basically, if you drive south, heading like towards Mismaloya, and you pass Mismaloya, there is a little section that says Palo Maria. And it's basically like a river that comes out into the ocean. But if you hike up along that river, up towards the mountain, you eventually get to this really, really cool waterfall. And then there's like a little, basically like a natural pool there that the waterfall goes into. And it's just a cool little hike. It's not too difficult. I've taken my young kids with me there, and they were fine.
Mm-hmm.
Take snacks, take drinks, and that's fun just to go there. Really cold water, but after the hike and you're hot and sweating, it feels really nice to jump in. And there's like a platform, like a natural rock platform. You can jump off into the water, and there's a rope swing as well. You can kind of swim over to where the waterfall is. There's like a kind of little cave behind it and get some cool pictures. I've never been up there. I have a buddy, a friend of mine from Spain that does a lot of hiking, and he's gone up past it, but it's definitely not for kids. It's very steep to get up past that waterfall, but if you keep going along, there's like 2 or 3 more along the way that are really cool. We've done that. We've done the one out to... So basically, there's a place that you can walk from Boca de Tomatlan. So
Las Animas, right?
Before Las Animas. It's where that...
Colomitos.
There you go. So we like that little area. Unfortunately, over the years, and I mean now especially, a lot of people eventually figured it out. And there's tons of boats that show up there during the day, and they unload people, and they're there, and they're loud, and disrespectful and stuff, but sometimes you can get there early enough and have a nice quiet time before all the boats start arriving. But anyway, what we'll do is we'll drive to Boca de Tomatlan, which is kind of the last part of the road that's still along the shore until it veers off up into El Tuito and all that. You can park your car there. There's usually like a paid parking area where you can pay to park your car there, and you basically just cross this makeshift little bridge across the river there, the river mouth, and you just walk along. You're kind of going through the jungle. There's parts along the coast, parts that you go into the jungle, and it's I wouldn't say it's a novice hike, but it's like I said, I've taken my kids with me, and that's fun. Go there, hang out there for the day. We've done the Yalapa deal as well, going and getting a panga or a water taxi and going and staying at one of the bungalows out there for the night.
Yeah.
That's a lot of fun as well. We love going to cabins. So we obviously, it's people I remember, all throughout my career here, I would talk to a lot of vacationers. I would sell them timeshare, and they would ask, well, where do you like to go? Well, obviously I don't like to, I go to the beach. It's here, but honestly, I don't know if you're like me, but I rarely ever go to the beach anymore.
It's kind of the same.
Because it's it's there. I can go whenever I want.
Yeah.
But with kids and family and all that, it's not just going to the beach. You got to get everything ready. You got to get all the stuff ready. You got to load everything in the car. Either you got to go to a restaurant and pay money throughout the day and consume and probably end up spending a hefty amount, or preparing food and getting everything. We're filling up the cooler and getting all the stuff and all the kids' toys and all those things and setting up. And once you're there and on the beach, and that's fun. I enjoy it a lot. I love the ocean. I love playing with my kids. We like riding waves and all that stuff. But it's just the hassle of getting everything together and the sand and rinsing off and so. That's why I guess we don't go as often.
Yeah.
But what we do like to do is escape the heat, and we find ourselves doing that quite often. My wife's family has a very large piece of land with there's 3 cabins on it. It's basically a group. It's an associate. It's like a group of guys that bought the property together, and they share it, and they kind of we'll use this month, we'll use that month.
Yeah.
And it's up past San Sebastian. So basically, if you take the non-toll road to Guadalajara, like going through Mascota, San Sebastian, all that, it's basically right after you pass Talpa.
It's
pretty much
Talpa.
halfway to Guadalajara, pretty much right about at the halfway mark. And it's cool because there's pine trees, and you wouldn't expect it, but it's like a little pine forest, and they're actual wood cabins, and it's cold at night, and you can build fires, and and there's deer, and there's it's really cool, and it's nice to escape the heat and not have to sleep in an air conditioned room and stuff like that. We have a lot of fun. Kids like to hike, kids like to go out, and we do that. We also go up to Mazamitla. If nobody's ever done that, that's really, really cool. Mazamitla is probably about a couple hours from Guadalajara, and it's also like basically a pine forest, and there's all kinds of camping, and there's cabins, like really nice large cabin facilities, and normal ones and individual cabins, and there's horseback riding, ATVing, hiking. Absolutely delicious Pueblo food, like Pueblo, rancho, grandma made it food, very cheap. You'll see 4 peso tacos and, stuff like that.
Yeah.
Just very delicious food. That's something that we like as well. We call it pueblear. And it's basically just stop on the little towns on the way to wherever you're going and get food. You have some of the best refried beans or cheeses and, stuff you could ever imagine. There's this breakfast place we stop at on the way. It's right before San Sebastian. So you go over this big bridge, and there's a bunch of places there.
Just before the bridge.
If you're going from here to there,
a cup of coffee out there, right?
Yeah. But there's a bunch of little restaurants, and there's this one that has this homemade jocoque. It's
what is that? What is
I
jocoque?
guess how could I explain jocoque? Jocoque is kind of in between heavy cream and cottage cheese.
Oh my goodness! Okay,
it's more
a curd,
sour.
right?
It's a curd. Yeah. And basically, I guess you use it like as if you would use sour cream.
Okay.
But you dip the
chip in or
handmade
whatever.
tortilla. Like you got the doña there actually making the handmade tortillas, and you order a order of queso ranchero and an order of jocoque, and they bring your frijoles, and you can order your enchiladas or your chilaquiles or whatever.
Yeah.
And we just love doing that because it's just so good. It's just like just delicious. You order orange juice, and you see the lady, squeezing the oranges, and we like that. Oh, let me tell you something. Since we're talking about food and cool experience, do you mind?
Yeah, no.
So when I first came down here, I came down for my brother's wedding, right?
Yeah.
And I was 18, something like that. And I was excited that wow, shit, I can drink here. That's awesome. I could buy And I remember my brother picks me up from the airport, and he picks me up in this Volkswagen Bug, Bochos. They were used to be all over the place.
Oh,
here,
yeah, I remember.
This was one of the only places that they still manufactured them here in Germany. They stopped, but he picked me up in his Bocho, and he had like a little cooler in there, and he said, "You want a beer?" I was like, "Hell yeah!" He hands me a Pacifico. And, I just thought it was the coolest thing in the world. I was like, oh, my God, are we going to get, I'm all worried. Are we going to get stopped by the police for drinking? And, and he just looks at me like, oh, God, you're new here, right? I'd been living in the States for a while by that point.
Yeah, sure.
So, it was awesome. He picks me up at the airport. We start driving. He was, at that time, living in a place called Punta Negra, which is down south. And there was these condos, like, right on the beach. I mean, like, I don't think I've ever seen any condominium complex that close to the water. It's crazy. Like, you walk down, just go down one flight of stairs, and you're touching the sand. But just as it's an older building, but just beautiful. The view was spectacular. A jacuzzi out on the balcony, just really, really cool. But anyway, on the way there, we're driving along. And we kind of come along this bend, kind of in the Punta Negra area. It was, it looked like there was like a creek that flowed out into the ocean there, and it was like a turn before you go over some bridge, right before Nogalitos. And there used to be this little restaurant there. It was just called El Chano's. And El Chano was a really good friend of my brother's, and that was his restaurant, right? So, you kind of go off this little dirt path. You park there under like a big tree. And, there's like 2 tables. They're Coca-Cola. One was like a Coca-Cola table. One was a Corona table with plastic chairs. We sit down, and I think he ordered some, ceviche or something like that. Got me a beer, and he saw, you want a shot of raicilla? And I was all, what the hell is that? I had no idea what's raicilla. Basically, the way he described it to me, it's Mexican moonshine, right? And I was like, sure, Took a swig. I just remember it was strong as hell. I wasn't very keen on the taste of it, but I was like, whoa, it was like it'll knock you on your butt. And, I thought it was awesome. I was sitting on the beach, my feet in the sand, looking off to the waves. It was a really beautiful part. There was nothing else around. It was just us. There's no noise. You just hear the sounds of the ocean. We're talking, chilling out. And he's all, you want some oysters? And I'm like, hell yeah, I love oysters. Just raw oysters, salt, lime, salsa huichol, vámonos. I love them. And I was like, hell yeah, absolutely. So you see my brother talking to his buddy, the guy that owns the little restaurant. Come back, and then Chano, he starts talking to this other. It was just like his helper or whatever. He had like some jean shorts that were like ripped, and that's it. He was wearing no shoe, no sandal, no shirt, no nothing. And you see him go. I wasn't paying attention because we were talking, but I kind of see at the corner of my eye they're talking, and he goes and he grabs something, and you see him walk away towards water. I'm still not really paying attention. And we're talking, chilling out, having a good time. And all of a sudden, I see the guy walking back out from the ocean. He's all wet. He's got a mask. He's got his gloves, and he's got what looks like a net or a sack. And he starts walking closer to me. And all of a sudden, he just shows up to our table and puts the sack on the table, and there's easy 25 giant oysters in there that the kid just went and got at that exact moment when they ordered it. And I didn't realize that until they actually put it on the table. And he starts cracking these things. He starts cracking these things open, and they're still moving around and stuff. I'm like, oh my God, is this really happening? I mean, this is awesome. I was like, that was my first taste of coming back.
That was,
that was
you
like the first
at
thing.
18,
oh man,
right out of the airport, man.
I thought that was amazing.
Uh-huh.
And it was probably the best oyster I've ever tasted.
It was probably the best day you ever had,
awesome.
right?
It was really cool. Really, really cool.
Yeah.
I just wanted to tell you that because I thought that was
that
was just an awesome
great.
experience. I was never expecting it. It just starts cracking them open right there. And I was like, oh God.
That is impossible, right? If you had a word of advice for a first-time visitor coming to Puerto Vallarta, what would that be?
All right. What would I recommend? Just be aware of your surroundings. You know, if there's tons of stuff to do. There's great people here. You know, there's a reason why Vallarta's voted one of the friendliest places. Everybody's really nice here. I mean, well, let's be honest. A lot of them are trying to sell you something. That's why they're being nice. But still, they're nice. You know, my wife and I go to Cancun sometimes, and they're not very friendly there. And they still try to sell you stuff.
Yeah, how does that work?
Right.
Yeah.
So that's all. Just there's a lot of good people, but there's also not good people. And just be aware of your surroundings. And just like at home, don't be wandering around half drunk at 2 or 3 in the morning. And you should be all right. Careful, but just stuff like that. You can barter. You can barter. You can get some prices down. You can negotiate. A lot of this stuff is overly priced, but just know the places where and when that's allowed and that's appropriate.
Right.
Unfortunately, a lot of people come down here thinking that they could do that anywhere. And you can't. You can't show up to Walmart and haggle
a
bag of bread, or and some people do that here with me. And we're not selling silver on the beach. We're an established shop, and we have established fair prices. But the reason why I'm saying this is because we do not have tourist prices. We have local prices. We sell to locals. That was our purpose, because we didn't have a local shop. They were all tourist shops. They were all places that were way overpriced and things were ridiculously expensive. And we thought that we should open up something for us, for people that really just want to quit smoking and can't afford all these, touristy prices. And so the prices, you won't find any better prices here in Vallarta. No one has better prices than us. We're at the market rate, and some stuff we're a lot lower, but that's guaranteed. You can go to any shop here, you won't find anything any cheaper than we have it. You won't find any more selection of products than we have. And we do have promotions, we do have deals, it's stuff that we communicate, but it's funny because we'll have a Mexican come here and spend 4,000 or 5,000 pesos on stuff and not bat an eye. And sometimes we get some tourists that'll come in and just buying a liquid and that costs 250 pesos, and they'll sit there and haggle with you.
Yeah. Oh my God.
I'll give you 200. It's like, nope, sir, that's not how it works here.
Yeah. Did you see my eye roll? Did you see that?
So no, there's. I mean, don't get me wrong. Have fun with it. There's places you can, and if they, if it seems like they're open to it, go for it. Some of the stuff is overpriced, but we're out to just give fair prices. We're a business, and we want to maintain ourselves open and
you're professionals.
And all that stuff.
And you're professionals,
of course, but. Yeah. But we have very good prices, and you're welcome to look anywhere. But that's one thing. Just be aware, just be respectful. Some people, kind of forget that. Yeah, you're on vacation, but not the people that live here. We still have things to do, and we still have kids. Don't be obnoxious. Don't be. Would you be walking around the mall with no shirt on back home? Would you be chugging beers and doing, you know what I'm saying?
Oh, here.
Just be respectful. Act like how you act, like you act at home. And there's nothing extra you have to do. You don't have to speak Spanish. People are really nice. People are cool. People will sit down and have a conversation with you. That's all. Just be respectful. Just treat people how you want to be treated. And this is a great place. I love Vallarta. My wife is from Guadalajara. All her family's there. We go there all the time. And every time they're begging us to come back. And I don't want to leave Vallarta. I love it here. I love the small city. I love, walking out of your house in the morning and having a conversation with your neighbor while she's sweeping the sidewalk. Hey, how you been? How's this? What you doing? What's going on? It's wonderful. As opposed to sometimes, you can live in the States. You can live next door to somebody for 20 years, not even know their name.
That's right.
In some cases. And, I like that about Vallarta. It's even though it's, gradually become a larger city than it was, but, it still kind of has that towny feel to it that, that everybody's nice. Everybody's, it's still more laid back. Not a lot of the city problems. It's a lot of culture. There's a lot of history. There's a lot of cool things here.
That's why we all love it.
Yeah.
All right. Let's come back to Pacific Vape. Tell us your address.
So the actual address is called Retorno de los Albatros. And the street number is 138. 130A, like the letter A as in apple. 130A, and there's also a plaque out front that says Casa Medusa. Medusa is like we call jellyfish medusas here in Mexico.
Okay.
So it's supposed to be like a vape cloud
vape
jellyfish, right? So and that's our logo. You'll see either a white or a purple vape jellyfish. So out front we have a sign that says Casa Medusa. You won't see a regular store sign out front. There's a reason for that because
which we talked about.
That's right.
Now you're on Facebook,
we are on Facebook, we are on Google,
Instagram. You do any
we
of
are
that?
on Instagram. Yeah. So if, for example, the easiest way to find us, you can just Google Pacific Vape Shop MX, as in Mexico, and depending on where you're at in Vallarta, either one of our other shops will pop up. So we have this one here in Los Sauces, which is our Vallarta shop, and then we also have one out in Bucerías. How roughly where is it? So if you were going to go to Hotel Decameron, that's over in Bucerías, there's an exit right there, right by the Soriana supermarket. And basically you turn off and you'll see a couple arches. There's some arches as you turn into the area to go towards that hotel. Basically, as soon as you pass the arches on the right-hand side, we're right there. We're above a paella restaurant and a pizza shop.
Oh.
We're right up on the top.
Well, perfect.
Yeah.
Perfect.
So, and with both of our locations, there's basically like an interphone system outside. So you kind of have to ring. We have cameras. We'll see who you are, and then we'll buzz you in. You just basically walk up to us, and that's just basically a way to protect us. If there's anybody doing any types of inspections or anything, we'll just answer saying, no, we don't know what you're talking about. This is a private home. Thank you. Have a great day.
Yeah.
And if customers buy, well, obviously we let you in.
Yeah. Very good, very good. Okay, well, I'll have links to that in the show notes. And like I said, I will also have a Google map in the show notes. I'll have a picture of Fernando's smiling face and pictures of the inside of Pacific Vape. And, of course, you can find it at www.puertovallartravelshow.com with the Pacific Vape episode. Fernando, we have had a great talk. I think that people really now understand much more what this is all about, what the vape, what this whole industry really is about, but also the kinds of services that you're offering. And I just want to thank you for taking the time out of your day. You're a busy dude, and basically, giving my listeners a real treat. I truly appreciate it.
No, and quite the contrary. We really appreciate it. I think this is a great thing you're doing here. I wish I'd known about you sooner. I'm going to go and do a binge on all your other podcasts. I've listened to a couple, or at least some parts of them. But this is really exciting for us. We didn't know something like this existed, and that's kind of the area that I feel we're lacking. We don't reach out to a lot of the expats that live here, or English speakers in general.
Yeah.
A lot of them don't know that we're here because we don't do publicity as most of the others, and we're kind of off the beaten track. We're not like on the main strip or on the Malecon or anything like that. But this is really great. I hope we get to meet some of your listeners, and I hope we get to help some people out, and we hope to help some people stop smoking. Even if it's just to come by, say hello, we're more than happy to chat it up and say hello. We also, I forgot to mention this, we also have a website, and all of our products are there, all the prices and different locations. That would be www.pacificvapemx.com.
Very good. I'll have a link to that as well.
Awesome.
Fernando, thanks very much. I truly appreciate it.
Thank you, Barry. It was an absolute pleasure. I'd be happy to do it again.
All right. Thank you, Fernando. Great information for every one of us, right? I have links and contact information to Pacific Vape Shop PV, as well as links to the things that Fernando talked about. They're all right there in the show notes. And I have a map that'll take you right to the front door of Pacific Vape Shop, Puerto Vallarta. All right, well, that should do it for today. Next week, stay tuned for more on-the-ground reports from Puerto Vallarta, Mexico, with travel tips, great restaurant and excursion ideas, and more. But until then, remember that this is an interactive show where I depend upon your questions and your suggestions about all things Puerto Vallarta. If you think of something that I should be talking about, well, please reach out to me by clicking on the Contact Us tab and sending us your message. And remember, if you're considering booking any type of tour while you're in Puerto Vallarta, you must go to vallartainfo.com. That's JR's website. Reserve your tour through him right from his website. Remember, this is a value for value proposition. His experience and on-the-ground knowledge of everything Puerto Vallarta in exchange for your making a purchase of a tour that you would do anyway. You're just doing it through him as a way of saying thank you. Thanks, JR, for being our guide. It costs no more than if you're going to use someone else to do it. So do it through him, really. And when you do take one of those tours, email me about your experiences. Maybe you can come on board and share with others what you liked or didn't like about the tour. Again, contact me by clicking on the Contact Us tab and sending off a message. And don't forget his maps, his DIY tours, and his link. I have links to all of those in the show notes. And once again, if you like this podcast, please take the time and subscribe, and follow, share, or just share this with a lover of Puerto Vallarta. Give me a good review wherever you happen to be listening. That way we can get the word out to more people about the magic of this place, Puerto Vallarta, Mexico. And remember, I made it easy for you to do just that with each episode I create. But if you haven't been to my website, you really have to have a look there. I have the links to the places that we talk about, interesting pictures and more, all right there in my blog posts and in the show notes for each episode of the show. So check them out for sure if you haven't already. All right? All right. Hey, thanks so much to Fernando Vasquez Whitney of Pacific Vape Shop in Puerto Vallarta. It's a great and timely information that you could possibly use to help yourself or help someone else that you love change their approach to smoking tobacco products that, well, you never know. And hey, thanks to all of you for listening all the way through this episode of the Puerto Vallarta Travel Show. This is Barry Kessler signing off with a wish for you all to slow down, be kind, and live the Vallarta lifestyle. Nos vemos, amigos.
De Puerto Vallarta, noche de arrullo en el mar, samba de Puerto Vallarta, noche de amor junto al mar. Solo camino interno por la playa, me encuentro junto al río cuando todo está en calma. Pronto cae la noche, brillas Puerto Vallarta.